Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the final session of the workshop, rather the last but one session, because the last one is the closing remarks where I will speak for some time. But this is in no way less important session, at least, because I think this is the most relevant session for the region that we are in, that is ASEAN. And we will again have three very important presentations by three scholars. And two of them are present here with us today. Unfortunately, Dr. Ratna, who will be presenting last, has not been able to join us, but he will be there in Skype. And to chair this session, we have Professor Heng Wang. So without further ado, Professor Heng Wang, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you for organizing. Really honor to chair this wonderful session. I totally agree with Isis that we will have an excellent and very nice presentation by three distinguished presenters. So we'll first have Mrs. Sanchita Basu from Senior Fellow Institute of Southeast Asia Studies, and then we will have Dr. Vo Tri Thanh, Vice President of the Central Institute for Economic Management. And finally, we will have by the Skype of Dr. Rajan, Sudesh, Ratna. And each speaker will have a 15 minutes presentation, and so we'll hopefully have more time for discussion. So without further ado, we'd like to invite our first speaker to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Good afternoon, everybody. And first, let me thank ISAS for inviting me to this workshop. It's been very interesting since this morning, listening to all the presenters, panelists, and learning about how South Asia and the rest of the world is perceiving RCEP and the trends of globalization. The task given to me is to talk on RCEP from ASEAN 5 perspectives, that is mainly Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Thailand. But as Vietnam is many times considered in the more developed ASEAN members, so in my analysis I have considered Vietnam too. So Vietnam will be discussed both by me and my esteemed panelist, Dr. Vo Tri Thanh. So this is the content of my presentation. I will give a brief account about the RCEP document. What does the document say? How clever is ASEAN craft a document? Following that, I will cover up what is ASEAN's interest in RCEP. What is ASEAN's priority both in terms of economic and strategic terms? What are some of the challenges that RCEP is facing now and that ASEAN may have discounted in the beginning? And what could be way of compromise, and if Singapore wants to conclude the negotiation next year, maybe what are the different ways Singapore can look into the document. So this is the brief introduction. So as we all know, ASEAN has been leading the negotiation of RCEP since 2012. To highlight the framework document, the first document that ASEAN came on RCEP, it categorically said it will be a comprehensive and mutually beneficial agreement, and it will cover broader and deeper engagement with significant improvement over existing ASEAN FTAs. So from the beginning, ASEAN countries are clear it has to be something more than ASEAN plus 1 FTAs. But at the same time, ASEAN is very clever. It says like, yes, it may take very long to negotiate. So we will be including new issues as agreed among all the negotiating parties. And of course, there will be flexibilities in terms of negotiation process, that is, it can be in a sequential manner or in a single undertaking manner. And there will be future accession both for the ASEAN FTA partners who may not be ready to join in the beginning, or new members, and of course spatial and differential treatment for the less developed ASEAN members. So what we can say, like ASEAN is very keen on institutionalizing the trade regime in the region, and but it is also very mindful about the complexity of the negotiation and the development status of some of its participating members. So it's very wise. It has covered all grounds in the first document it did in 2011. This was the second document that came in 2012 where it called Guiding Principles for Negotiating RCEP. It basically stated the coverage as trade in goods, services, investment, intellectual property, and in the end it says any other issues that will be mutually agreed upon during the course of negotiation. So from the beginning, RCEP is a living document. So even during negotiation phase, I think I was hearing in the last round of negotiation, even government procurement was considered as a subject under RCEP negotiation. So we have finished 19 rounds of negotiation, and yeah, it's expected to be concluded next year. So what is ASEAN's interest in RCEP? Why ASEAN is pushing RCEP for so long? Of course, we are hearing from the morning trade and investment. And so if we see ASEAN mercantile trade is very important for these economies. This is just looking at the share of trade in ASEAN's GDP. And we observed that besides, other than Singapore, which is always a free port, countries like Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, they have a very significant share of trade to their total GDP. It's around 100%. For Singapore, of course, it's 200%. But compared to these countries, if we see for the non-ASEAN countries, other than Korea, trade is around 30% of countries' GDP. So for ASEAN, mercantile trade is very more important than I would say for the non-ASEAN countries. And if we see how the mercantile trade as a share of world trade has gone up, we observe that the share has gone up for the ASEAN countries from the 1980s, say from 3.2% of world trade to currently 6.7%. And in the bigger geography of Asia, while the share of Japan has gone down, China has picked up since early 2000. So trade is very important for these countries. Other than trade, FDI is a very important consideration for ASEAN to undertake regional integration. And it was, so if we go back to why ASEAN countries thought of having AEC in early 2000, it was also because of FDI. I've been told like around that time we had national leaders who were trained in economics, and they saw one fine day, they saw the FDI chart and they saw the line is going down and the line for China was going up. So they got very scared and they said like, okay, let's form an ASEAN economic community which will offer the economies of scale, and that will be good for our investment. So FDI is a very important consideration for these countries. So basically, the two very important factors for ASEAN to pursue RCEP is trade and investment. These countries have adopted the export-oriented growth strategy for very long, and although they have the unilateral policies that had encouraged the MNCs to do business in the region, these countries, they think like regional initiatives like AEC, ASEAN Plus 1 FTA, RCEP, they will further institutionalize the process. It will be better, predictable environment in the region, especially in the absence of the multilateral system. So that is one of the key economic priorities. Looking at few other economic priorities for ASEAN, there are certain peculiarities of trade within ASEAN region. ASEAN's intra-regional trade is as important as extra ASEAN regional trade. So here I have only considered ASEAN 5 countries, and in there only if we see countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, they trade with ASEAN 5 countries at almost the same rate as they trade with China, Japan put together. And for Vietnam, Thailand, the number is a bit lower, but I think if I include Cambodia, the number will go up further. So for them, these things, both intra and extra-regional trade matters. And this then derives from, for ASEAN country, they are the part of the East Asia Production Network, this we have been hearing from morning. And for strengthening this production network, while the tariff has gone down, tariff is an important consideration, for ASEAN countries, it's also very important to eliminate or streamline the behind-the-border measures. So I just used some numbers from the World Economic Forum Enabling Trade data. And this is the latest report that has come, which has ranked 136 countries. And if we see, other than Singapore, which is performing very well across all the indicators, countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, and Philippines, they are performing poorly in border administration or transport infrastructure. So those indices, they are ranked low. For the non-ASEAN countries, China and India, the two biggest market closest to ASEAN, it's not performing too good. For market access, they are ranked towards the bottom half, and even for China specifically, transportation of goods or operation environment in China is not that conducive. So for ASEAN, this is a very important consideration to undertake RCEP negotiation. Other than that, of course, we have heard about the noodle bowl effect in the Asian region. So we have, I will use. So this has been outdated, but the ASEAN countries, they have been signing many FTAs among each other, and they're signing many FTAs with each other and with a distant partner. But despite ASEAN's effort over the years, the utilization of FTA is very low among the private sector. And like Amitendu was mentioning in the morning, NTBs, the private sector have been complaining about the NTBs. They're also saying the services sector liberalization is also not much. The Mode 3 and Mode 4 are very sensitive issues in ASEAN. And for the ASEAN Plus 1 FTAs, they are signed in different points in time, and the countries have taken different approach to negotiate the FTA. So they are very different from each other. So all these things, the private sector has been saying, like the FTAs are not much use to us. So ASEAN countries, they thought to address some of the issues made by the private sector, and they thought like multilateralizing the existing bilateral and the regional FTAs could be a solution. Of course, we have the new issues of e-commerce and logistics, which they thought could be better managed in the RCEP rather than going back to earlier, older trade agreements. So moving to what is ASEAN's strategic interest with RCEP. Of course, Debbie has been mentioning in the morning, like ASEAN and RCEP came up from two earlier configuration of ASEAN plus 3, which is ASEAN and China, Japan, Korea, and ASEAN plus 6, which also includes Australia, New Zealand, and India. So this is a topic of discussion going on since 2001, and there is this East Asia Vision Group who which recommended the establishment of East Asia Free Trade Area to the ASEAN plus 3 leaders. And in 2004, China took its leadership to do the feasibility study for this and provided recommendation how it's good for the region. However, there was not much action on that. Then after the 2008 crisis, part 2 of the study has been taken up by Korea, but in between countries like Japan, even in ASEAN, Indonesia, Singapore, they were not in favor of the ASEAN plus 3 arrangement. So then Japan took the leadership to come up with an ASEAN plus 6 studies. And in the 2011 East Asia Summit, the economic ministers, everyone appreciated Japan's and Chinese initiative, but ultimately because ASEAN wants to convene the regional governance mechanism in the region, they proposed the idea of RCEP, which is built on the ASEAN plus 6 arrangement. For ASEAN, RCEP also showcases ASEAN's unity, because RCEP came at a time when TPP was also coming into picture, and there was a lot of, and there were many critiques that TPP is dividing ASEAN, as only 4 ASEAN members were part of TPP. So RCEP was developed on the principle of all for one and one for all. And of course, RCEP is flexible in nature, which is good for the ASEAN member states. And like I was saying, ASEAN loves to be in the, wants to have a centrality in the broader Asia-Pacific region. So it wants to convene the regional initiative. So RCEP fulfilled all these purposes for ASEAN. moving to the challenges in RCEP. So what I will say, what is ASEAN's top priority? ASEAN's top priority is to improve the firm level usage of FTAs. So whenever I talk to the policy makers, they say whatever we do, we are not appreciated for our efforts. So usage of FTA is very important for ASEAN. So from the beginning, what the negotiators were trying to do is, I will show you, these were some of the studies done on the firm survey where the utilization rate of FTAs is around 20%, or even for the case of Malaysia, it's only 11%. And the private sector, of course, they complain of the NTBs, and in many cases they also complain about the corruption in many ASEAN countries, requirement for import applications, or many licensing processes. So this is another table I would like to show you from the World Economic Forum Executive Opinion Survey, where they show like many of the ASEAN countries have very high, the corruption is a very key issue in many of the ASEAN countries for importing and for exporting. The border administration process is also very cumbersome in many of these countries. So this is how so ASEAN countries wants to solve these issues, but and they want to simplify these administrative procedure for rules of origin, but this is becoming a very sticky issue in the RCEP negotiation. I think ASEAN countries, they didn't realize it will be such a difficult issue. And for the better utilization of FTAs, of course, the ASEAN countries, like I told you in the beginning, they want a much better FTA than ASEAN plus one FTA. So they said it should be better coverage of goods. Better coverage of goods, what they did is they came up with the average of all the ASEAN plus one FTAs, and the average is 92%. So they want a coverage of 92% of goods under RCEP, but the problem is there are countries who have high trade deficit with China. So in this you can see like Japan and India, their trade deficit with China has gone up in the recent years. So is Vietnam. So of course, but Vietnam is part of ASEAN, doesn't matter. So for India under CJK FTA, where these countries, they don't have an FTA with China, this is becoming a very sticky in RCEP negotiation. Yeah, I won't explain these charts. Okay, sorry. Going back, even in the RCEP negotiation, services sector liberalization is a very sticky issue, because for ASEAN countries, services sector is a very protective sector. And there are many studies done that they say like, even though the ASEAN's coverage of services sector is better under AFAS, the ASEAN's own regional integration, it's compared to the GATS, the WTO system, the rate of the marginal preference is very low. The ASEAN countries, they continue, even though keep on promising about improving transparency and predictability, they don't carry on with their promises in the national economies. So there is a lot of restrictiveness in the form of entry or ownership requirement or licensing need and regulatory regime for various services sector in ASEAN countries. And MRS, which is the mode 4 for the movement of professionals across ASEAN countries, it's a very sticky issue in ASEAN again. ASEAN, even they have concluded 8 MRAs within themselves, they do not actually ensure movement of people. So if a country like India, who has a very comparative advantage in services sector, I don't think RCEP is a platform where we can negotiate over services sector liberalization or MRAs for professionals. Of course, at the moment, countries are also, there is no clear consensus over investor-state dispute settlement, IPR, or e-commerce. So, if we want to conclude, this is my last slide. So, if we conclude the negotiation by next year, especially, we are all very hopeful because Singapore will be chairing ASEAN next year, and RCEP is a big thing for Singapore to announce at the end of the year. Where do we see the agreement can make compromises, or maybe even there will be a very comprehensive agreement, which are the sectors we should read in the entire document. I would say like one way where RCEP can conclude negotiation faster than expected is to go for an RCEP minus X strategy. Or there can be a staggered way of RCEP timeline for different countries. And ASEAN has done this before. ASEAN has a services sector liberalization process where they have adopted an ASEAN minus X strategy. So different countries come in different points in time. Of course, focus more on the trade facilitation agreement, mainly the border administration reform. Special attention, I think it's good to pay on the sectors which are part of the production network in the region, and services sector like tourism and the related business, or the new sectors like e-commerce or transport logistics. So these are the sectors I think cooperation can be more easily done. Of course, better governance system, transparency, capacity building should also all be part of RCEP. From the beginning, RCEP is a living document, so I think going forward also we can include, ASEAN takes a very pragmatic approach in regional trade agreement. It will be incorporating new things in the document and taking out things like we have seen that with the ASEAN Economic Community document. And by the end of everything, what is important, be it ASEAN's own AEC or ASEAN +1 FTA or RCEP, is the implementation procedure. I think we should have a very clear chapter on how these RCEP countries would be implementing these measures going forward. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Sanchita, for the very inspiring and future forward-looking ones on the RCEP developments. And now we'd like to move on to our second speaker, Dr. Vo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I try to be very brief, right? Because already you know about ASEAN. So just I touched four points. One is evolution of the RCEP. Already Sanchita mentioned in the morning, so I will brief. And then you look at the impact of RCEP on the ASEAN and CLMV, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam, and major issues and challenges for ASEAN and CLMV, and some concluding remarks. Okay, I just emphasize maybe a few things on the evolution. RCEP is not 11 years proposed by ASEAN. So RCEP is important for the ASEAN community. The role of ASEAN centrality. And in the new context, many problems with the PPP, Brexit, everything. So many people would like to see RCEP as a vehicle for the regional integration, and they would like to see the RCEP can be, concluded by the end of this year with the so-called substantive framework. But at the same time, the leaders would like to have modern, comprehensive, high-quality RCEP. And the process of negotiation so far, very, very slow. So that's okay. We already have a PPP, we have ASEAN +1 FTAs, we have the AEC, but PPP is not relevant for the RCEP negotiation, right? Not just because we are so diversified. Vietnam, lowest income member of PPP. But I just make one example. PPP has a single undertaking arrangement, right? But AEC or RCEP, there's process, right? So that, or whether you can rely on ASEAN +1 FTA, no, because the study by the area showed that level of optimization of the AEC much more higher than on average most ASEAN plus one FTA. Maybe in some dimension just lower than ASEAN, Australia, New Zealand FTA. So in that sense, AEC already in any sense higher. We have higher level of optimization than any ASEAN plus one FTA. So many things AEC that we would for RCEP to look at, based on some process, based on sense of community, optimization plus connectivity plus cooperation. 3 big C. Okay. And over the last 3-4 years, many recommended for the RCEP arrangement or negotiation. But one is the EC will be good reference for RCEP to follow. And we need to focus on MSMEs, ISDS, and those investment IPR rules or services associated with production network. Focus on that. So basically that's all idea how move forward for the RCEP. Now impact of RCEP on ASEAN and CLMV. You can see that chart, very significant, huge, for the CLMV. Impact on CLMV, very big one, right? That's one. Second, impact of RCEP on Asia Pacific region much more, larger than BBB, origin BBB, don't say about BBB either. And if you look at that, too small. BBB has very significant trade diversion and investment diversion effect on the non-members of BBB. That's why it is different from RCEP. RCEP have less significant trade diversion effect. And the last one, if we can reduce MDF and DB, it can further liberalize services investment. So RCEP can have more positive impact on ASEAN and CLMV. I just add that one. If you look at the latest estimation by Kawasaki, as I mentioned in the morning, DBB 11 months have quite significant impact on the DBB members. Except US, when they withdraw. So they have some trade diversion effect on the US. Okay, but some notes, right? One thing is CC, basically trade estimation of trade impact, they use a CC model. But CC model have many limitations, but one limitation is that kind of model cannot capture the dynamic institutional reform within the country. So sometimes they can have underestimate the impact of FTAs on the economy, sometimes overestimate. In the case of Vietnam, we have so many quantitative studies of the impact PDA of the US, EPP on the WTO, IEC, and most assessment underestimate the impact of trade liberalization on Vietnam economy. Because that cannot capture the domestic reform appropriately. So, that unilateral reform, unilateral liberalization may be also very crucial. Okay, major issue and challenges, I just list the which one. One is RCEP should be driven by ASEAN, but that's not easy. Given the fact that we have China, we have Australia, India, we have Japan on the thing. How ASEAN can balance different level of ambitions, among the negotiating parties. That's one thing. The second, Sanchita already mentioned, we so far don't have, CGI, FTA, China, Japan, Korea, FTA. We so far don't have China in there. But now we put together 16 countries. Another one, later on, that's institutional problem. How we can have good combination between ASEAN and implementation mechanism for the RCEP. And last but not least, liberalization is good. But at the same time, they can have many unwanted effects. Non-traditional security issues, trafficking, labor migration, all that. So we have to be dealing with that. So that's the challenge. For CLMV, Vietnam, great. We have huge benefit from DPP and RCEP, right? We can better exploit our competitive advantage. We can become the hub for attracting FDI. And as I mentioned in the morning, DPP and whatever FDI in Vietnam, we see that's the most important catalyst for domestic demand. But for CNM, they are not DPP member, so they can suffer from the impact of the DPP due to investment trade diversity. So how to maximize the benefit of RCEP minimize the negative impact for the CNM, Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar. So we think, number one, RCEP should be of high quality, right? But in the sense, those related with the partisan globalization. The second one, unilateral liberalization and domestic reform also very crucial. And of course, capacity building. And that some suggest, so far ASEAN, we have IAR, Initiative for ASEAN Integration to support CLMV. So whether we have IEAI, East Asia, Initiative for East Asia Integration, right, 16 countries, to support the less developed countries, right? Capacity building, SME development programs to support that and reform. Okay, so my concluding remark, of course, that's RCEP important, credibility of ASEAN, vehicle for regional integration, and the EC can be a good template for the RCEP negotiation and establishment. And there's an interaction between liberalization and domestic reform in this board. We say that's two wings of the bird of development. And we have to remember, ASEAN have three objectives. One, like many other community or regional areas, prosperity. But we also emphasize on two others. Development gap narrowing, how we can narrow development gap, and people-centered development. So we have to understand, without the narrowing development gap, we cannot succeed with the integration. So in that sense, ASEAN are very important, and narrow development gap within ASEAN also very, very crucial. So I stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Ho, for the very inspiring again and great talk. And now we'd like to invite our third speaker, Dr. Rajan, Sudesh, Ratna. And Dr. Ratna will talk via the Skype. So I really appreciate that. And now we'd like to invite Rajan to speak. Thank you. So we're just trying to connecting Rajan. And also later on we will have again the question and answer section. And we will connect questions and then invite the speakers to respond to your questions. So we'll probably need some time to connect. And if we're connected, then we'll show the slides, and so we'll be able to collaborate with it. Maybe if they take some time, maybe we also do want to take the time to get some questions and come back to the presentation. So 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to connect. Yeah. Okay, I was told by the technician we need about 5 minutes to get connected. If that's the case, maybe may I suggest that we can take some questions, and maybe later on we'll invite our speakers to respond. Okay. So, do all of you have any questions for the speakers? Yes?
Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't have the answer to this question, but what is the role of the ASEAN Secretary in the RCEP negotiation? Because you mentioned several times that this is an ASEAN-driven proposal. Thank you.
So now we are still connecting, I guess. So maybe I can, if there's no other.
You can say something, I can say something.
Yes.
No, ASEAN Secretariat doesn't have much
Yeah.
role in taking leadership in RCEP negotiation. They're supposed to get all the negotiators together, fix the date of the meeting, get the lawyers in place, and take notes, come up with a document. So they're just facilitating the negotiations. ASEAN Secretariat doesn't do anything.
Not just for RCEP, for ASEAN, for all the ASEAN matter, ASEAN Secretary, not so powerful in express the ASEAN voice or whatever, because ASEAN integration or ASEAN community is interlinked governmental government between the country, right? So there's no supra power like the case of EU. So ASEAN Secretary like just countries, coordinators, and try to facilitate all the process, ASEAN activities. ASEAN Secretary cannot on behalf of any country.
Thank you. If no question, maybe I can take liberty to raise some questions. First one, I think I have a question about our first speaker, Sanchita. And if I understand correctly, in your presentation you mentioned that India can hardly negotiate access to services, if I understand correctly. So I just want to know whether you can further elaborate why, if that's the case, why they cannot negotiate move further liberalization on the service sector, because that's relevant for India. And also, I have one or two questions for Dr. Vo. Then in your slides, you mentioned that we probably need a China-India FTA to finalize the RCEP. But I think in earlier talk by Ratna and others, indicates that China and India may not have been able to reach free trade agreements because India's industry or quite concerned about trade deficit with China. So I just want to see, interested to see a different perspectives, okay? Further elaborate on that. And also you mentioned that the RCEP implementation depends on the domestic reform, final slide, if I understand correctly. But earlier you also mentioned that RCEP is different from TPP because TPP is a regulatory trade agreements focused a lot on reform, while RCEP is a different story. So I just want to see that why RCEP is not a regulatory agreement, but still their implementation relies on domestic reform. So,
Yeah. No, I think what I was trying to say, India wants to cooperate on the services sector. Because India's comparative advantage lies in the services sector. Whereas for ASEAN, the services sector is not their priority. The priority is more with the merchandise trade. So, but the services sector in ASEAN is very protective. Other than a couple of tourism sector like open skies, or other than that, ASEAN is very protective about its services sector. So there is a mismatch of interest between these two, and that's why we are having a prolonged negotiation on RCEP. So it's a sticky issue between India and the other RCEP member countries. So that's what I said. India wants to negotiate on RCEP. On the other hand, India, what I have heard is talking about negotiation of, say, market access versus services liberalization, which are like two different things for the ASEAN countries. So, yeah, no, I was not saying like it's a problem for India, it's a problem for ASEAN countries.
Well, as I understand at the beginning, how we can have appropriate template for negotiation RCEP on so quite difficult.
Hello.
Some say RCEP just like FTA between ASEAN
Can you hear me?
as a group with other side, right? Other side, template should be like between 16, countries, right?
Hello.
So-
Hello.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Dr. Vo, for being so accommodating and flexible. Really appreciate that. So now the technology works. So why don't we invite Rajan to present, and thank you for connecting with us by Skype. Thank you. The floor is yours, Rajan.
Hello.
Hi. We can hear you. Could you please stop? So Rajan, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hi Rajan, can you hear us? So we're trying to connect in, yeah? So hopefully it can work out. So we look forward to that about rules region. Actually, it's a very important area for FTA because it's where it uses this instrument to prevent the circumvention of the FTAs.
Oh yes, now I can hear. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me first of all apologize for not being physically here and making this virtual presentation. But let me also thank the organizers, ISAS and US for giving me this opportunity. Liana, can you go to the next slide? The next slide is about the objective of my paper, which looks into the preferential routes of origin, which is likely promote the regional value chain within the RCEP members once the FTA takes place. Go to the next slide. The next slide deals with the methodology. The details have been given in the paper, and I understand it must be available to all, and I don't want to take much time, but basically I have looked into the trade within RCEP members as a group, how much they are trading in the raw material, intermediate product, which gives an indication of where do they stay in terms of value chain and how the interlinkage among the industry in terms of supply chain is there or not. I have also looked into the intra-industry trade, which also is an indicator of the trade which is happening and in certain sectors within the RCEP and with the rest of the world. Basically, the intra-industry trade is an index which is calculated using the Rubel-Lloyd method, and it ranges from 0 to 1. A higher intra-industry trade indicates the existence of a higher degree of international production network. Then I have looked into the domestic value-added content in exports of individual RCEP members, for which I have used the WTO ACB Kiva database, and the trade analysis has been done in terms of the UN Comtrade lists, which I have taken. And then since I will be looking into the rules of origin, so the focus has been, because we don't know it, it's not in the public domain what kind of rules of origin is going to take place. in RCEP. So I have just estimated what is the likelihood of the rules of origin which might come in RCEP, and so I have anticipated. Of course, there are standard limitations because the inter-industry trade has its own aggregate biases, and the TIWA database also, because the latest database was for 2011, which I have used, and so it has still some limitations. The next slide, please. Well, this is just an illustrative list of the existing literature on these issues. So there are some work which has been done. Midendu has also looked at this aspect, but not much deeply looking into rules of origin, and so I thought maybe that would build upon this paper and look into this. The next slide, please. This is an illustration which talks about or shows the trade of RCEP members on raw material, intermediates, and other classified goods. This uses the UNCTAD classification, which is on the basis of perhaps the COMESA, and it uses the harmonized system of nomenclature. So if one sees this, and I have compared how much RCEP is, trading with itself and with the rest of the world for the period 2008 and 2015. 2008 I have taken because it was just before the crisis, and it is found that the trade in raw material and the intermediate products for the rest of the world was higher than what the intra-RCEP was doing. And in fact, the intra-RCEP imports, I have taken these imports, so they are importing the raw material from, it declined from 2008 to 2015 by 4 percentage points, and intermediate goods also. So the dependence of becoming a part of perhaps a global value chain for the RCEP member countries from 2008 to 2015 is more integration towards the rest of the world than within the RCEP. Of course, there has been capital goods which has been tremendously increased within the intra-RCEP. And this is a composition of the total imports. So this just gives what is the percentage of these categories import. Interestingly, the capital goods imports would entail more technology because FDI brings in technological know-how. So within RCEP is slightly positive, but the dependence on the raw material and intermediate goods has declined over the years. The next slide. Now, the next thing is to look into the intra-industry trade in selected sectors, and I have taken the average for whole years from 2013 to 2016. And you would see that in many of these sectors, starting from other manufacturers to the prime products and the textiles, ores and minerals and fuel, they have a very high degree of inter-industry trade when compared with the rest of the world. Of course, there are certain sectors in which the inter-industry trade, the linkages is more or less at the same level. Of course, the RCEP has higher than the rest of the world. So, if you see the data from 2013 to 16 at a sectoral level, it shows a higher level of integration between these industries in RCEP. The next slide, please. This classification also interestingly gives you the classification of the high technology, low technology, and medium technology products. And you will see that the intra-industry trade in the low technology for the RCEP, within RCEP is almost highest, reaching up to 1, which is then followed by the medium technology, and then the high technology. This is still high, it's 0.9, so with that it is high. But when we looked into the capital goods and other things, so perhaps it might be within that period that the imports in the low technology and medium technology is much higher than the high technological product. Of course, the gap between the low technology between the rest of the world and the RCEP is the highest, whereas for the high technology is the least. The next slide, please. Now, if you see the rules of origin which is practiced in ASEAN plus 1 FTA, The products have been classified into the three categories. First is the only obtained or produced category, and the second is the not only obtained or produced category. This not only obtained or produced category is basically has to undergo through a substantial transformation test, and that is either in terms of the regional value-added content, which generally for ASEAN and ASEAN plus 1 is 40%. Now ASEAN is following with ASEAN plus 1 a co-equal rule, which is a CTH, which is changed in the tariff regime. That means the non-originating inputs should undergo 4-digit HS transformation change between the input to the finished product. So that is what is called the CTA, change in tariff heading, or you have the RVC of 40%. So the exporter can choose either of these two to export. And in one of the ASEAN plus 1 FTAs, which is India ASEAN, it has 6-digit HS transformation, which is CTSH, and the RVC of 35%. And the third criteria is how do the provision of the accumulation acts within ASEAN plus 1 for determining the origin of the products. Now, if one looks into the overall domestic value-added content of the gross exports for the RCEP member countries, one would observe that over the years, from the year 2000, 2008 and 2011, in certain cases from 2000 to 2011 it has declined. It has declined in the case of the Republic of Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, India, Japan. Certain cases is more or less static, Brunei, Australia, but in certain cases like Indonesia, New Zealand, Philippines, it has seen some kind, and Malaysia also, it has seen going up. And the minimum value added in the year 2011, if you see, it's around 60%. So in the total domestic value-added content, if one looks into the TIVA value-added content, 60% threshold is more or less they are meeting. But this gives you an overall consensus. So one need to look into the sectoral one. So the next slide, please. Now I have looked into a few sectors because of the limitation of space and data and other things. Because textile, product, leather and footwear is one of the important sectors in Australia. And unfortunately, I wanted to segregate them, but the TIVA database clubs them all, so that's the other limitation. And even here, if you will see, you will find that Cambodia saw an 8 of less than 40%, but a minimum threshold domestic value-added content for this sector is 40%. It has gone up to 80% for many other countries, and each country has shown its own different lines, except for Cambodia, and Singapore also is above 40%, but for the rest, it's 50% or more. The next slide, please. Now, for the motor vehicles, again, if you will see, again, 40% is the minimum, which is by Malaysia. Again, it has seen some decline from 2000 to 2011 in certain cases, while in other cases it has seen a slight increase. But if you look into the threshold minimum value-added content for this sector, it has been 40%. The next slide, please. The next slide is about computer, electronics, and optical equipment. So if you will see, here it is around 30% for Vietnam, slightly up for Malaysia and Thailand, and for the rest it's about 40%. So if you recall when I was talking about the ASEAN having 40% RBC, if that is a single criteria, then there might be certain problems with some of the countries to qualify the rules of origin. Whereas if you apply CTH or 40% value addition, then the exporter has a flexibility. So where they have lesser value addition, like 30%, they may accumulate regionally, or else they have no choice but to go for a CTH. The next slide. Now, if you compare CTH versus the RVC, CTH is less onerous than RVC. There was a study which was done a couple of years ago, and it found that more than 4,000 products at 60 THS level can meet CTH criteria even if they are produced from the penalty made stage. That means even if you are manufacturing one stage before, then you are making the finished product. Around 80% of the products will meet the CTH criteria. The second issue is in condition of CTH, theoretically 100% of the inputs can be used which is non-originating, and yet the product will be qualified for the origin. And therefore, the issue of the conflict between the global value chain and the regional value chain comes here. There was a study which I did last year looking into this, and it established that if you have the CTH as a criteria, the more inclination would be to get into the global value chain, because you can import from even non-FTA parties, in this case you can import from non-RCEP parties, and use these finished product to be exported to the RCEP countries. So that is what will become a larger part. So the rest of the world can use that RCEP member country in exporting to the RCEP. But the CTH does not enforce that strictly the regional value chain, because the provision of accumulation in case of CTH is not very pragmatic, because there is no foundation on sourcing the requirement from within the FTA partners. Whereas in terms of RVC, it can promote the regional value content, because as we discussed in previous slide, say Malaysia has in electronic equipment only 30% value added, and if this 30% RVC, if 40% is the criteria, then it has to source, whether it likes it or not, that 10% from RCEP, and that will promote the accumulation. So if you go for the value added content formula, it promotes more towards the regional value chain, whereas if you go for the CTH, it promotes more to, or inclines towards the global value chain. Now, it much depends on, the next slide please. Much would depend on what is the objective of the RCEP member countries. If they are looking for promoting the regional value chains, then they are looking to promote the intra-regional trade within the RCEP, then perhaps a single criteria of only 40% RVC would be a better option. You can therefore go for the CTH or RVC as an option, which you can find in the paper. I listed, I'm not putting in my presentation here how many cases are there, but many of these ASEAN plus one agreements have that co-equal rule. Then the purpose of accumulation will not work very effectively. So if you see from the past experience as to why ASEAN has at least 25% of the trade happening in the intra-regional trade, was also because of the accumulation provision and a single criteria of 40% valuation, and then they integrated well. The other issue is on the accumulation. I've given and dealt with different types of accumulation, and ASEAN plus one have also followed different types of accumulation provisions. But it would be ideal to have a full accumulation provision, but not any specific single country obligation like they have in ASEAN for full accumulation to have a 20% value added within the exporting country. But then you are restricting that only 20% goes from the rest of the RDA partner. So if that is applied in the RCEP, then that means the country will have to do 20% value added content, and only 20% can come from the rest of the RCEP, and that may not be much desirable in integrating the region. So if they really want, it has to go for a full accumulation provision, where whatever minimum process has been done in a particular country or an RCEP member, that should be added while determining the final origin of the finished product. ASEAN, in terms of the rules of origin, and ASEAN plus one, they do not have much flexibility for the ADCs, and especially for CLMV. Now, if you will see their dependence, and it's a big debate which is going on, and even the AEC roadmap now has been shifted now to 2025. If you really want the ADCs to integrate into this process, some kind of flexibility in terms of the rules of origin also need to be given. Perhaps a lesser value addition, and not in terms of permanency, but at least for 5 years or 6 years, or during the transition period or whatever they decide in the RCEP, would be good enough for them to adjust and qualify and make certain investments in a gradual manner. So maybe 30% RBC for the LDCs could be a good option that I could think, which will then promote them also becoming a part of a regional value chain in the RCEP. So that is all I had to say. Thank you. The next slide is on the thank you page.
Thank you, Rajan, for really helpful, and also I think it's very illuminating about how this region will be important for RCEP, for those for RCEP +1, and also the RDCs. So with that, I think we are really great, 3 presentations, and then we would like to continue our question and answers. So we would like to encourage our audience and all of us to raise questions to any of the speakers. Yes.
Very nice question, perhaps. We tend to see time and again that India is kind of a problem child in this RCEP negotiation process. But are there, so if you consider a world without India, would there be no problems at all from the rest of the RCEP negotiating members? If there would be problems, can you just pinpoint the top 3 problems and which countries create them in terms of reaching negotiating conclusion in RCEP?
Questions to
anyone who wants to answer?
Okay, of course, negotiations are confidential, we don't have much information, and like you said, of course, India is not the problematic child in RCEP negotiations, and what I understand, even within ASEAN, there is not a common voice. So I won't be able to rank countries, but Indonesia these days are more nationalistic, so they are creating a bit of issues within ASEAN side of negotiation. On the other side, yes, Japan, Australia, they're also very careful and agreeing on many aspects of RCEP. And LDCs, especially on the issue of IPR. So there are various aspects, it's not just India. India one, I think they highlight more because of the market access part, which everyone thought would be very easy, but they are still yet not nowhere close to the writing that market access chapter. So yeah.
Your question before, why China, India FTA or CCP FTA, Japan, China, Korea, for RCEP? Because that's basic production network, right? Movement of goods, services, labor. You cannot go from India to China, no, not easy, like from India to ASEAN, for example. So that's problem very much related to the production network. But many countries argue that I have used a trade deficit with you, I suffer that one. So bilateral is not so good, FDI, That kind of Donald Trump argument, right? Okay, bilateral not so important, but because of the Thai steel production network, you have to look at broad the context of the export and import. So Vietnam and China, we are closer trading partner, important, but we suffer huge deficit in China, right? So that's bilateral. But at the same time, we have huge surplus with the US, right? Because we have to import a lot of raw material in the magnitude from China, make something and to make so that can be become final good and we export to EU, US, right? But Donald Trump only look at the bilateral, So bilateral, okay, you have to look at, but at the same time. So that's the way you need to look at the trade now, not just by that. So I think deficit argument of deficit is one, but not out many other.
So I think that maybe we would like to open the floor for more questions. Yes?
Hi, yes, my name is Anish Mishra. Okay, my question is actually regarding on RCEP increasing its total trade volume. Okay, the thing is that what I actually see at the moment is that even if RCEP comes into force, into effect, it's a very high tendency that RCEP will be underutilized. And this is probably because of non-tariff barriers that will probably continue to exist, and as well as the lack of infrastructure to actually connect the various markets. So what I would like to ask is that, do you think that actually the countries involved in RCEP should first focus on removing the non-tariff barriers, developing infrastructure, as well as its local economies, before actually pushing for free trade agreement? Because if you have FTA, it will only remove the taxes, the tariff, which actually is the smallest barrier to trade. It's because of the global protectionistic policies of US. That's why now we are looking at this, giving more and more attention to this. At the same time, just less than 20 days ago, on 15 June, India actually joined.
Sorry, could we keep it short? So your question should use one sentence to
Alright,
summarize.
So the question is, should RCEP countries first focus on removing non-tariff barriers and developing infrastructure before actually signing an FTA? Thank you.
Okay, so your question is to who? Do you want
Anyone in the panel can answer.
Okay, again. So.
Okay. RCEP is not just doing the tariff reduction, it's also looking at facilitating trade. So this is the terminology they use very often to streamline the procedure for export and import. So harmonizing rules on the border, or say coming up with e-custom system, because ASEAN is doing its ASEAN single window, maybe one day extending to RCEP and other RCEP members also. And your question of can you solve the NTBs or the infrastructure issues first before you move to market access, I don't think that's a very feasible option, because our NTB is, I would say, very, it will be there, some form or the other, depending on the global situation, or because, so when your global context change, your kind of NTBs will change. So you cannot say, can we remove all NTBs and then next day can we negotiate RCEP? No. NTBs will remain in some form or the other. What we will talk in RCEP is, can we increase the transparency? Can we have a system that countries can put up, maybe a information repository system where they can list down all the regulations they have for import or export? Or if private sector is facing some problem in, say, importing, exporting countries, can they report it to someone in RCEP Secretariat or ASEAN Secretariat? So basically there's more discussion, and then that particular country can look into the matter. Is it really an NTB or is it an NTM, or can it be removed for ease of business? So RCEP can help in that, but we cannot say. And for the infrastructure, if you mean the physical infrastructure, that's a very long-term thing. We cannot resolve the infrastructure issue again, like in the next 6 months or next couple of years, because physical infrastructure needs a lot of financial assistance, financial investment. And for forget about even the physical infrastructure, if you mean the soft infrastructure, because we are discussing a lot of this under the Master Plan of ASEAN Connectivity, and recently there is this China's COBOL. So there is other aspect of infrastructure, which is the institutional connectivity, the that is also, which is like, how do you, the left-hand drive and right-hand drive of different countries, or say, when you take goods from, say, Singapore to Thailand, you have to change that truck on the border. So these are like, can we change these regulations? Can we, the goods move across border with a seamless movement across border? So that involves a lot of political will, because there is a lot of political economy challenges involved in the institutional connectivity also. So I don't see the issues that are linked to political sensitivity getting resolved in a short span of time. So what RCEP does is to discuss these things at the leaders level, at economic ministers level, and encourage transparency among the countries. Again, like I'm saying, encourage transparency, not that they get commitment from the country to be completely transparent. No. So yes, no, so I don't think like MTBs and infrastructure issue can be solved first before we move for RCEP negotiation.
Just including one is, a tariff is really more transparent, easier to be dealing with, right? But the issues like NDMs, NTB, facilitation, like ASEAN single window, connectivity, very, very comprehensive, complex issues. So even under the WTO, tariff try to resolve first, right? Not the NDM, NDBs. Because there is a rationale for having NDM. Right? So argue for that, not easy. But the second thing I have to say, if you look at the ASEAN paradigm, they have pillars. Highly integrated, that's about tariff, NDB. The second one, connectivity, right, facilitation. Third one, competitive, dynamic, innovative. So on that, the major pillar of AEC. But even for the connectivity, I have to say, why that's complex? I take one example. Over the last 10 years, 7 years, since 2010, we need to complete 115%. But until now, only 31% completed for the ASEAN Master Plan connectivity from EMPA. So that's very comprehensive, very complex.
Thank you very much for both of you. I think now we can hear the voice of Rajan. Maybe perhaps I can raise a question to him. And also, if any of you would like to join, that would be great. So Rajan, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you, I can hear. And the question which I am going to answer is about ASEAN plus one FTA rules of origin. And in the context of ASEAN China FTA origin rules that have been recently upgraded. Well, yes, I am aware of it because the ASEAN China was a general single rule, but now they have negotiated CTH also as a co-equal rule, and they have the product specific rule. But again, the problem in the product specific rule, if you see, and I have seen, and there are many studies which have been done, 2 of such studies are also cited.
Can we talk
many of these product specific rules have centered towards CTH or RVC, and the extent of RVC has been varying from 20% to 40%. So it has followed a co-equal rule, and the unfortunate problem is that these are the product specific rules which go at 60 GHS level. And if you look in the ASEAN plus one or RCEP, large entrepreneurs are from small and medium enterprises. None of them has the capacity to look for a 1000-page document, searching for the RHS line, and then determining what is going to be the product specific rule. And of the 5,000 product lines, around 3,000 will have this CTH or RVC. So why, instead of listing all these products line by line, why cannot you have one single set of rules of origin and make product specific rules which can be clustered at one bunch so that it's easy for the exporters to understand. No, otherwise, it's a big problem. But what I see in ASEAN plus one agreements, and except with the exception of India, they're all centering towards CTH or RVC formulation. And so I am anticipating that the finality of the rules of origin in RCEP will also concentrate towards this CTH or RVC rule. And what my submission has been that if you have this co-equal rule of CTH or RVC, in that particular case, the mixed response and therefore promoting the chances of the regional value chain within the RCEP will not be as high if they accept only one single set of rule which is on the basis of RVC. Thank you.
So thank you, Rajan. And he just talked about, say, the implementation of the RCEP plus one FTA agreements in terms of rules region and what's the implication for RCEP. So he basically think that CTH will be more likely to be adopted in RCEP. Yeah. So Dr. Vo, you have a question?
Yeah. Yes,
Rajan, can you hear us? You want to speak? Is it laptop?
I can hear, but the sound is cutting off, so I could hear you very partially. Yes, please, Dr. Vo, you can have a question. I would therefore
you can hear me?
You can be trying to for my clarity.
Okay. Two things. One is, what do you think about the rule of origin under the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership? And the second, I take example how to implement the rule of origin between Vietnam and EU FTA, right? Say, if we import something from South Korea, so that's okay, because Korea have bilateral FTA with the EU, right? So Vietnam we have FTA with the EU, EU have FTA with the bilateral with Korea. So in that sense, they encourage, right, kind of production network. Do you think that's a good idea? Like,
I can hear you some, but let me understand one. Well, even if you look at the TPP, the TPP rules of origin are slightly more stringent than ASEAN plus one agreements. Maybe because of the pressure from the US, and they do not derogate from their own principles. So in many of the items, the TPP has a dual application of rules. So it's not mostly co-equal, but it could also be the change in tariff heading as well as some either the topping up with the processing or the value addition. But coming to the case of say Vietnam EU FTA and then importing from South Korea, and that Korea has a bilateral FTA with EU. It's more complex, and let me explain to you with the simplest of example. Let's take that between Vietnam and EU, the rules of origin is CTH. Now, if the rules of origin between Vietnam and EU is CTH, then whatever Vietnam imports from South Korea of whatever amount, even 100% of the input, if it is coming to Vietnam from South Korea, and the condition is CTH, then in all likelihood, that rules of origin of CTH will be met, and the product will qualify for exports to EU. It's only such items where the part and the finished product, and they come mostly from, I'm sorry, I'm going more technical, but it comes from Chapter 84, Chapter 85, 87, 90, which are electrical, automobile components, certain machinery where the parts and the finished product are in the same. That will not qualify. The second issue is the EU-Vietnam FTA is governed by the rules of origin between those two parties, and it does not get governed by EU's other FTA partners. That is what is another issue of cumulation. That if EU can allow that, even if I have an agreement with Vietnam, all the raw materials which is being imported from other trade partners of EU will be able to cumulate, which is an open accumulation which we talked about, is not in many of the agreements of EU. So even if you see the EU GSP or EU DFQF, they allow accumulation within the region. So they have allowed the accumulation of ASEAN, they have allowed the accumulation within SAARC, but all the developing countries accumulating or all the LDCs accumulating together for export to EU is not the case. But the second question is, if Vietnam EU FTA has the criteria of CTEH plus RVC, say the RVC is 40%, then it might be that if Vietnam imports the goods from South Korea, at least 40% value addition it has to do in Vietnam. So the limitation for Vietnam would be to import at least 60% only from South Korea. So that is the difference between the RVC and the CTH. In condition of CTH, Vietnam can become the part of the supply chain to EU for Korea, and then it promotes the global value chain because Korea is not the part of Vietnam EU FTA. But if you put the RVC, then to cumulate, Vietnam will be left to only import raw material from EU and cumulate, and that will stimulate. And this is an example where the countries are at extreme ends of the global geographical location, but within the RCEP that is not the problem. And if you will see China, India, and many other countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, exporting a lot of raw material and intermediate products, so accumulating them and using them towards the fulfilling the obligation of the rules of origin will continue to grow. Thank you.
We understand that, so that's why we apply lastly for only textile garment product as the key export product of Vietnam to EU. Textile garment.
So thank you for Rajan, and we have about 7 minutes. If any of you would like to raise a question, or if not, we can move to show our gratitude to the excellent speakers. So, if we don't have further question, I think that we would like to thank firstly. So first, I would like to really express our sincere gratitude to Dr. Rajan, Sudesh, Ratna for speaking with us via the Skype, which is very helpful and it's really a wonderful presentation on ROs and how they be implemented in the different countries from TPP to RCEP and also to ASEAN Plus ones. And also, would like to express our gratitude to the other 2 speakers because it's difficult to give the books to our third speaker, but we would like to show our gratitude to our 2 speakers present today physically with us. So firstly, we'd like to express the gratitude to Mr. Sanchita Basu for the excellent presentation. Thank you so much for that. It's really great to have you here. Yeah. And also we'd like to have Dr. Vo for the excellent presentation as well. And also, finally, we'd like to, as our last panel, I would like to really thank our organizers and the ISAS for the excellent organization of this wonderful workshop for us to enjoy the presentation and the question and answers. And thank you very much for that. And we'd like to move to our next session.
And to Rajan,
Thank you, Rajan, very much for that.
We directly move on to the last part. And I understand we've been through a fairly rigorous day. So the saving grace is that I won't be speaking for half an hour as the program schedule suggests. This is by way of some closing remarks and some thanks and to seek your suggestions in certain respects. So firstly, thank you everyone for coming over here and discussing. We started this morning on a very good note through a very very good keynote address session. Thank you, Dr. Sanchita Basu, for that. And then we had a very focused discussion on RCEP negotiations, in the present state of play, in the role of non-tariff barriers. And also we looked at China's investment regulations and how they are evolving over time in the FTA context. We then again concentrated on South Asia specifically because that's a very unique dimension of this workshop, and we are a South Asian institute. So we heard the perspectives of the industry, the challenges of the government in convincing the industries about getting into trade deals in the first case. We also heard about the simulation results that we got from Professor Rajan were also very instrumental in informing certain ideas about how the RCEP can affect and how a greater RCEP region could be conceptualized for the greater benefit of all. Finally, in the last session, we dedicated it to ASEAN specifically. We had fantastic presentations from all three of you, and we looked at firm level usage of FTAs, which is highlighted as one of the key things that ASEAN is looking for, the role of rules of origin, flexibilities in the rules of origin to facilitate value chain integration, etc. Now, I just want to make this point that these discussions were very good, and I want to give each of you a chance to make a final interjection if you wish to. You don't have to, but if there is anything that you want to say that was missed out in the context of the debate on Asian economic integration, take 2 minutes and make your point, if at all. Yes, Sebastian.
Sorry, I know that it has been a long day, but I think that one of the things that I missed is like there is no discussion about first the motivations behind this, the drivers behind this, and because of that it explains a lot, I think, the challenges that we see in the context of our RCEP. I think that if you look at every successful integration scheme, they have external drivers that justify the idea of going forward, and leaving aside, let's say, the political economy challenges that every integration process conveys. I think also that if you invite me again, which I will love to, I think that a comparison with Latin America may bring, very important lessons for the region. And I think that it is a long presentation, but it's about first of all the importance of policy convergence. I think that if Latin America, if you look at Latin America, there is this West approach, which is, or the Pacific approach on integration, and you have the Atlantic approach of integration. And the reason why there is a Pacific much more aggressive and successful process is because there is a lot of convergence in the policy approaches to regional integration. And the second is the fact that you start small, simple, and you make more complex agreements on the basis of their success. And I think that these kind of lessons are very important in order to make the process in the Asia-Pacific region more successful. Thank you so much. And thank you again for inviting me. It has been a pleasure. And I should have said, starting that I'm talking on my behalf. I'm not representing necessarily the World Bank in this case. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sebastian. Anybody else? Dr. Alex?
No, my comment is not with respect to the larger academic or intellectual content of this project, but I just wanted to mention a very different thing on the aside. This workshop has been organized by Dr. Deeparghya Mukherjee, whom you all know by now, with support from Liana and my colleague Jordan and Yusuf. So on behalf of ISAS and as the leader of the Trade and Economy program, I would like to thank all of them for hosting me. Thanks to all of you for coming. And finally, Dr. Deeparghya is moving on. So he is not going to be at ISAS any further. In another 10-15 days time, he is going to take up a new exciting assignment. He will be back in India. but he's not going to let go of the book that is going to come out of it, and we are also not going to let him let go of the book that is going to come out of this. Yeah. So I would like to formally record my appreciation for the great work that he has been doing as part of the trade and economics agenda at ISAS, and I hope he continues to do that, and wish him a very successful future ahead. So that was from my side.
Just to close down on the closing remarks, the aspect that I haven't touched upon yet is the book that is going to come out of this workshop. We had already told you about the envisaged book. All the papers that have been submitted so far and the ones that are expected, there are a few that haven't come in yet. So I expect that all the papers come in. We are in talks with a very reputed publisher to publish this as a separate volume on economic integration in Asia with the South Asia dimension as a key selling point of the book. So we'll have all the papers, and we're conceptualizing this workshop. We took into account not only the economic side of it, aspects of law, as well as other things which are very relevant to the trade scenario. This book is obviously important for ISAS, as it is for me. I will be the editor of the book, and it's very important that we try and keep the timelines, because it will be a very timely publication if we are coming up with it over the next year. So it's 50 years of ASEAN, 2018. That's an excellent thing, and ISAS would like to achieve that target. So that is on the book chapter. More or less, I will probably get back to each one of you with some comments on fine-tuning it to maintain a broad, consistent line across the book. So over the next 1 to 1.5 months, you will probably hear back from me. And those of you who haven't submitted it yet, please do so by such time. Finally, I get to the thank yous, a long list, but firstly, I must thank the ISAS senior management, starting with the chairman of ISAS, Ambassador Gopinath Pillai, the director of ISAS, who's not here currently now, but he was there in the morning, so Professor Subrata Mitra, Arne, who together have supported this initiative wholeheartedly from the very beginning. The man without whom this work would never have been possible is Dr. Amitinder Palit. His constant guidance is important, not only for me, but a lot of us in ISAS. I have learned a lot from him in these 3 years, and I wish to build on those as I go forward. Liana has done a wonderful job. I have been honoring her by asking her to email me, not to forget to mention Jordan, who's at the back, who has also been writing to you all many times to get the admin things done in time. Finally, Yusuf and Sheila for their commitment in getting the gifts in order. Yusuf is in charge of the entire IT system here. So without his contributions, again, as you all very well understand, the show couldn't have gone on. And lastly, the finance team, who you cannot see here, but they are kind of the guiding light in terms of the finance matters and what we go through and what not. So I thank their contributions as well. And thank you again for the final time as of now, but we wish to have you here again. I may not be very actively part of ISAS going forward, but in some capacities I wish that I maintain the association that I have formed with each one of you, as well as with ISAS. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.